All right. What's up, beautiful people? We appreciate you for tuning in today. We have a dope episode, as always, on the Dope People Show. Today, we're going to be talking about burnout. It's something that we've seen a lot, especially in the cannabis industry. A lot of people that are reformed from mainstream industries transitioning to cannabis. And we've been talking to Ellen Wong, and she's reformed from advertising and marketing, digital advertising and marketing. And she has started a new career. And we're going to talk about kind of her pathway to self healing and how she was able to start a business in the cannabis industry. So tune in. Thank you guys for joining. This is Dope People.
What up, Revel fam? Peter here in the building. It's a pleasure to see you all. There's a lot of stuff happening this week. New York's about to get its control board, its executive director, its leader on the regulatory council. A lot of stuff's going on. We're excited. Revel's here for it. But let's check in. Jacobi, how you doing? Lulu, where you at?
Yo, I'm good, man. I'm good. As you could tell, different background with the family on vacation. I had to pimp out my little bedroom. So like the bed is like right here, and my dog is staring at me right now. So I have an audience of my dog today. So we'll see if she likes the show.
Nice. I'm actually back in Brooklyn, so super stoked to hear all the things that are happening this week with New York Cannabis, and yeah, I'm also really excited about this episode. We're going to be talking to a friend from California who has transitioned from a very high stress digital marketing creative world into creating products for herself when she hit burnout. And we're going to learn about how she has grown this brand into a completely step-by-step experience. So would love to welcome Ellen Wong to the show from We Are All Daughters.
Hey guys. Ellen. Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to talk to y'all.
It is our pleasure. Where are you?
I'm currently in Idlewild, California. It's basically this tiny little mountain town in the San Jacinto Mountains, about 2 hours away from LA, which I still retain my place there. But we're really close to Palm Springs. So it's like an hour away from Palm Springs. But basically it takes an hour to get up here from anywhere, like anywhere down on the like ground level. So yeah, it's been rad. We've been here since like January, and had this like incredible opportunity to move up here essentially. And now this is kind of like my version of being bi-coastal. Like I hop back to LA some days, and then most of the time I'm up here spending my time with like the pine trees.
That's beautiful. Pine trees. We need to visit Mexico and San Miguel. We need to visit Lulu there, but that might be next on the list. That sounds lovely.
I definitely want to go out there.
It's becoming like Idlewild. It's becoming kind of like a little kind of progressive hippie small village. So I hear.
Yeah, absolutely. There's an art school up here that I had no idea that was even up here until we moved out here. But yeah, it's super artsy. It's this cute little town. Our mayor is a golden retriever. It's like that pretty much just like, you know, explains the whole vibe of this place. Like everybody's a dog lover. Everybody's walking their dogs everywhere. You hear barking all the time. You kind of have to love dogs to be up here.
Or pine trees.
And pine trees.
Yeah. All right. Well, cool. I'm excited to get into this. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in on the podcast or on YouTube. We have a good one here. So let's hop right in. You had a pretty solid career, okay? From what I've done in my research, you were killing it. I think executive creative director, right? You were running the game, doing all the things, probably working crazy hours. Before we get into the transition, like tell me what a day in the life was like in your previous career and what you actually did.
So a day in the life was me waking up and making an hour to an hour and a half commute from downtown Los Angeles to Santa Monica, being stuck in traffic. And then from there, it was literally back to back to back meetings. Like I would look at my calendar and it looked like it was bleeding and there was zero white space. It was just like meeting, 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 like no like time to really like eat or even go to the bathroom in between. And that was really my life. It's like my whole existence working at the agency adjusted to me like bolting to the bathroom every like 4 hours or something, just trying to like pee as fast as possible to get back into the meeting. And it was like that all the time. It was just, it was just endless. And then usually I was working about, I would say 70 to 80-hour weeks on the regular. That was pretty standard, very much through the weekend. And the crazy thing is working on the weekends was actually bringing me peace because I didn't have anybody around me asking me for things, and I was able to like sink in and get into my flow. And so I actually looked forward to working on weekends, which is kind of sick to think about now, but but yeah, that was completely my mindset and that was where I was at.
Okay, and just explain to me like what you did in your job, right? Like what's an executive creative director do at a digital advertising place?
So this particular agency was more of like a boutique agency. So as creative director or as ECD, I was overseeing the entire creative department along with my creative partner. Um, but I was also manning projects myself. So I was actively designing, I was actively like shepherding projects, doing the creative visioning, the strategy, working with the strategy team, all of it. It was kind of like I had to oversee and wear that hat, but then I also had to be in the weeds and get into Photoshop and, like actually design. And which, honestly, that was kind of like my refuge because that was always what brought me into the industry anyway. So, but that's also why 70, 80-hour weeks, it was just nonstop.
Got you. Yeah, that sounds like a lot. It's like I could either oversee everything or I could do the work, but whenever you get in a position where you have to do both, that's where it gets a little dangerous, maybe even toxic.
Mhm.
So you hit a critical point in your life where everything kind of broke down. And it's really that like your body told you, all right, this is enough. We're done here. Can you explain to me like that moment where you kind of it clicked for you that like I'm doing too much. Something is wrong with my lifestyle.
I don't think it was a singular moment. I think it was a series of moments, and it definitely started with my body telling me there's something wrong here, by just I was having really difficult times breathing on my morning commutes, which I've never experienced before in my life. And I've been fairly grounded and even keel, never really dealt with anxiety until this point. And really, at the time, I thought I was going through burnout because of the heavy work week and, like what I just explained, like the back-to-back meetings, the nonstop nature of all that stuff. And of course, like the toxicity within the office. But really, what I was burning out from was hustle culture. That's really what I was
Mhm.
burning out from. It was like burning out from a culture that told me that I was worthless unless I made a certain amount and or that I was worthless if I, didn't have my CEO patting me on the back or my clients like, singing my praises. It was all of that. That's what I was burning out from. It was this sense of I need to be validated from my external world, not from the work, not from, in here, like not from myself. So that's really what the burnout was like stemming from.
Do you think that's from your family dynamics or do you think it's like social media? Like what do you think you personally were kind of like digesting as this whole hustle culture?
I think it's everything. I think we've all been indoctrinated in this like patriarchal system ever since, before we were born. And it's generational trauma, it's ancestral trauma, it's stuff that our parents have passed down from, this entire lineage of, until like the time began really. And so I feel like we all carry those wounds within us to and it's these wounds that make us feel like we're not worthy, that we're somehow unlovable, unworth like, not worthwhile, somehow not not important or not valuable unless we are essentially bleeding ourselves out. So I think, yes, culturally, it comes from the family that reinforces it. And obviously, I had a tiger mom. I had a traditional sort of Asian American upbringing in Texas, in Houston. But that was also reinforced by, you know, the industry. It's reinforced by the school that I went to, the art school, where it's like, unless you were, pulling all-nighters every single night, you weren't doing the work. You weren't, so it's like it's in all these little moments of languaging and, it's not just one thing. It's everything. It's the world that we live in right now.
Got you. I mean, lucky for myself, I didn't meet my tiger mom till I was in my 20s, and her name is Lulu, and she's on my ass about everything. She keeps me in check.
I'm from the first generation. I don't even call them tiger moms. I'm gonna call them dragon parents. Straight from communist China. A little bit more breathing fire. So I guess I would be dragon mom since I'm first generation here. Or sorry, tiger mom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Either way, it's intense.
It's intense. Yeah.
Okay. So, you're starting to feel this consciously and subconsciously, this kind of weight of your lifestyle. And then you were also going through some personal things in your life, right? Like I think you had a fiance at this point, like things are changing in your personal life. So talk to me about what had to happen for you to like make that jump to actually quitting your job and kind of finding this self-healing.
I think the moment that it all crystallized for me, and again, I was experiencing all this stuff. The moment was when I got back from a month-long, call it a vacation. I got married, went on this amazing vacation to Japan and Hawaii, came back into the office, and like within an hour or two, I was right back where I was when I left. Like the anxiety, the stress, the imposter syndrome, the inability to really catch my breath, all of
Mhm.
that came crashing back. And I think that was the moment where I was like, "Oh man, I don't know if this is sustainable. I don't know if I can continue on," Like, and keep in mind this is a time when I was not very connected to my body. And so for me to notice these things was actually pretty, like something was happening for me to actually like take note because I was so go, go, go and so myopic with my life and my work. My work was everything to me. I
Mhm.
was full on workaholic, perfectionist. And I think that was the moment. It was coming back from that vacation or that honeymoon that made me realize like, holy shit, something needs to change.
Okay, so then what changed?
So from that point on, I think I started really like thinking about what would bring me not just, purpose in my life, but joy. Like, what can I put my time, my blood, my sweat, my tears into that's going to be purposeful and meaningful to me? And so I started just like spinning and thinking about, okay, I am this, this woman in this industry that's clearly burning out. There must be others like me. And so my first thought was like, I need to create some type of brand or business that will help women just feel better, just self regulate, And again, this is me, like, I was meditating a little bit at the time, and when I say meditate, I was, like, using the Calm app and meditating 5 minutes, maybe every 2 or 3 days a week, and I called that meditating, which is a very different practice than I do now. But at the time, it was, I was like, "There's got to be something that can help us," and again, I was really focused on women at the time. Something that could help us feel better, something that could help us stem off this burnout that was happening. And I didn't understand it. I didn't know what I was dealing with at the time.
Gotcha. So you're looking for kind of like your vehicle out. You're trying to find what's going to be my next thing. So, I know that you've started a company with your partner, and I won't spoil it just yet. But in terms of that transition, did you already find that and start that business before you hopped out? Or did you hop out of your job and say, screw it, I'm going to figure this out. I need the free time to start to discover that?
It was the latter. It was totally the latter, and, if I could go back and do it over again, I think it would have played out exactly the same way. I think where I was, who I was, my life experiences, everything that I personally experienced, I needed to hop out before starting to build this thing. However, I had had a conversation with my business partner before we left. She came from the same agency, and we had started, I mean, we left the day that we left, the idea that we had was we're going to build a company that helps burned out professional women. Had no idea what the product was, had no idea what we were going to create. It was simply just this this desire to help women just like us who are burnt out. And so that's kind of where we left. And literally the day after I left the agency, we met with a partnership lawyer and got papers drawn up. So in essence, it's almost like we got married before we even knew what the hell we were actually building together, which sounds crazy, but I feel like all of this stuff happened for a reason and it kind of was divine in the way it played out.
All right, all right, I like it. So you get married, you kind of like sign your soul on the dotted line. Hey, we're gonna do this together. Talk to me about like the healing process, like not even the business. Like what are the actual things that you did to recover from that decade of work that you were doing? Um, I'm not interested in the business yet. I'll get to that.
Yeah.
But like, how did you heal and come back to who you were or find yourself in the first place?
It's a really good question because, to be honest, the healing went side by side with building the business. We
Mm,
did not know that we needed to heal. We left the company thinking, "Oh, the company, the agency, the industry, that's the problem." Right? We had no idea that there was this something, these walls inside of inside of our bodies, these walls around our heart that we needed to like break down. So that it was almost like in building the business and going through the steps of building the business and being given the opportunities that the business brought us, that's what kind of started us both on this healing journey. And I think it's in learning and reading a shit ton of books that first year, talking to a bunch of different like healers and facilitators and being able to be in front of these types of people and making those connections, that's what really kind of kickstarted our healing journey. One of which was this breathwork coach that gave us essentially a couples therapy session that completely blew open the doors of like my heart, my being, whatever you want to call it. My father, who had passed when I was 15, his spirit showed up in that particular session. It was mind blowing. It was intensely emotional. All three of us were feeling it. All three of us were crying our eyes out. And I can't even explain the energy in the room that day was just it was insanely intense, and I confronted my grief for the first time ever. I confronted the fact that I had not allowed myself to grieve or to feel the full brunt of losing him in my life until
mm.
that moment, like 30 some years later.
Well, see, thank you for sharing. That's very powerful. But what I can't help but think is, the mission of your company is like there's so many other women and people that are experiencing burnout or on the verge of it, or what I'm hearing from you, even more so, they are burning out and they don't even know it. Right? So what advice or tips would you give to people that are like ignorantly burning the candle at both ends, like going into the like disaster? How can you what advice would you give to people to like step out and to be able to have that knowledge?
The advice I would give to anybody is really start paying attention to your body first and foremost. I think we're living in a time when so many of us are very disconnected from our bodies and we're not paying attention to the signals that our bodies are telling us. And our bodies are literally speaking to us every single moment of the day, from the moment
Mhm.
that you wake up to the moment that you crash out. It's constantly sending you signals. We're just not picking them up. And so by starting to pay attention to your body, by checking in with your body regularly, even if you have to set a timer like once an hour, just to like literally just stop and take a deep breath and breathe out slowly and just feel into your body. Like, where is it feeling tight? Where is it feeling, tense? Feeling your body and this is really what's called embodiment. That is really kind of the first, I feel like, level of coming back into contact with yourself. And from there, it's, I think you're going to be able to open yourself up to pick up more and more cues as to where you're at and what needs to change.
That's dope. So you go through this journey, you accidentally start to, I don't know how to say, embody yourself. You accidentally go through that. You sign on the dotted line and you start building with someone else. Through that, you start to figure out things about yourself that you didn't even know were issues or problems or disconnects. But for you, you especially gravitated towards breath work.
Mhm.
Whereas if I read correctly, your partner is more kind of like the Reiki kind of world. Can you talk to me about like the different modalities that you guys have discovered and why certain ones resonate with you versus your partner and other people?
I think that's a really big question. We all kind of experience energy differently, and I say we as in we all individuals, every human experiences energy differently. And I think it's the recognition that we are all energetic beings, right? Like, we are all
Totally.
comprised of energy, right? So some of us will experience energy really physically. We'll be able to like really embody that, we'll be able to feel vibes really well. And, we're just tuned in that way. Some people just get knowing hits in their gut about something, and you call it clairsentience or clairsentience. Clairvoyance is being able to see something like before it really happens, or if it's like not connected to you physically. And so I think the difference between Sam and I is really in our bodies, our experiences, and just who we are at a soul level that has connected us to these different modalities. So for Sam, she really connected in with energy therapy and Reiki and things like that because she is so sensitive physically to energy,
Mm,
and she's able to kind of be more in her like upper chakras and like manipulate energy or like channel energy through her body. I'm a much more grounded person. Like I really connect in with earth energy. My practice is much more shamanic in nature. I'm an animist. Like I believe that every plant, animal, rock, house, you know, refrigerator, microwave has an energetic pulse and contains energy that you can connect to, and that you can connect to these different, even an idea, a project, a concept has an energy that you can connect to. So for me, breath work, I think I was gravitating towards breath work because, and again, this is not conscious, it's because I am able to sort of hold the energy frequency within a circle as people are able to travel out of their bodies and have these like very profound peak experiences in the mystical or in the spiritual sort of sense. Does that make sense?
barely, but I'm into it. But I'm into it. No, it does. It absolutely does. I'm just kidding here. I've done some breath work with our friend Kathy Ha, who is dope, and she was actually on one of our very first episodes when we are very much like you guys started this dope people show, not knowing what the hell we were gonna do, and it has transformed into its own thing. But yeah, she was one of our first people, and um, I, I think so often that especially in our communities, especially in Black and Brown communities, there's so many tools that exist. Right, like, it's like going into Home Depot, like, there's plenty of tools. You
Yeah.
just we didn't know that certain ones existed or, like, where to access them or where the information is, and I think that there's certain communities that are completely, um, cut off to what those
Mhm.
tools could be, and so I really want to, like, expose the different ways that, like, look, this one might not work for you. Breath work, you might be like, "That shit's weird. I don't like breathing all hard like that. I don't know. It doesn't resonate with me." But, like, Reiki might be a way for you to find that energy and to be able to control it for yourself, and that's what I think is really interesting, is
Mhm.
finding those tools. Um, but Lulu, it looks like you wanna hop in. Lulu, you're on mute. Let's try again.
Take two. I was going to say shout out to Kathy Haw because that's how I actually met Ellen. We were at a breathwork and creativity session that they were holding in Los Angeles. And I just also want to point out that, a lot of these healing modalities originated from Black and Brown people. And for many, many reasons, they were take these shamanic practices, these indigenous practices, all of these energetic practices were removed, right? So I think it's really beautiful that this is the beginning of a lot of healing modalities that are being brought back into communities that have lost these traditions because they were taken away from them. So thank you, Ellen, for, I love that everyone that I've met through you has been a lot of women of color. And that's very rare to see because in most of these kind of the first wave of shamanic healing, however term we want to apply to it, has just been very wealthy, Caucasian women and Caucasian people. And now I'm seeing, a lot of great groups, Minka in Brooklyn, where if we're doing things with Minka, I'd say everybody, majority of people are Black and Brown in those types of circles. So just wanted to say that, yes, we're coming back to these healing modalities, but they were there in the first place. And I'm so happy that we're all returning back to them. So thank you.
I think that's such a rad point and a necessary point too, because that actually what became my passion as Sam and I started putting together our podcast. We wanted to center, voices that were typically marginalized because all of the, kind of the white folks in the industry have sort of been the shiny stars, so to speak, and kind of gotten a lot of the highlights. And so it was really important for me to highlight particularly, female voices, but also like women women of color who are facilitating and healing and offering all these different modalities. Because I think who you are and your life experiences really affect also how the modality is practiced. Like every single individual brings their own special sauce to that modality. So you go to one Reiki healer versus another Reiki healer, you're going to have a vastly different experience because of who they are. Same thing with a breathwork facilitator. I'm going to have a completely different flavor than, somebody else that like Kathy, for instance, who I absolutely love as well.
Yeah, I think you're so right. And again, like to your point of energy, you kind of resonate with people that have that same frequency. And it's just been really interesting to see how many requests that people have been bringing in terms of like trying to find healers of color. And right now there has not been that many. So I think I'd like to encourage our audience, if there's a passion that you have in terms of connecting to some type of holding space for different types of healing, and you're of color, I would really highly encourage you to research and move towards that direction, because there's so much trauma and things that need to be addressed in Black and Brown communities. And it's really, really important to have folks that not just look like you, but come from experiences. And to Ellen's point, share that same frequency, because it's so much easier, just like any other relationship, connecting with someone, especially for healing, it's just super important.
So let me ask you this. I was talking to my barber actually the other day about when you go into a different state or city, especially as a Black person, it's really hard to find a barber. Like a personal recommendation holds a lot of weight in this industry or in that industry, especially. Same thing for like church, right? If you're looking for a church and you just moved, it's hard to go to a different church every week to find whatever you're looking for, right? I would imagine that your experience is going to be greatly impacted by that person. And like, what are some tips for like, look, I'm burning out. These are things that I think I'm interested in, but like Yelp probably isn't the place you're going to find it, or like their Google reviews probably aren't going to speak to the greatness of what this person is able to do, or the bad job that they will do. Can you speak to how someone would go about finding the right person for them?
Yeah, I think that's such an excellent question, and it's something that I actually ask myself, like, how did my journey play out or unfold the way it did? Because, I was starting at like ground zero too, like square one. Um, so much of this is just reaching out and starting to do research on your own as to what facilitators your friends may be going to and asking around. It's like word of mouth. That I always feel like has been my number one trusted source. I started there. And then truly what happened for me is that I just opened myself up to anything, and I was using my intuition a lot of times to feel into that person and see if I've resonated with them. So much of this is gut work. It's like intuition, because I think we are also living in a time where so many of us are looking to experts and to outside sources to tell us like what we need to feel, what we need to eat, how we need to work out, how we need to do all these different things. And really, what we're stepping into, I think, as a collective is greater personal discernment, and that means developing your connection to your intuition, trusting your body to tell you what it is that you need. And that goes for finding facilitators and healers. The person that resonates with me may not resonate with you, may not resonate with Lulu, and that's totally fine. And I've given recommendations to different friends for people who absolutely were like transformative and life changing for me, but they didn't really get that much out of their session. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So recommendations do work, it's like that's kind of where I usually begin, but ultimately I started doing my own research and I started really trusting my gut and just, looking on Instagram at some of the healers and people who are out there and what they're posting, what they're talking about. Are they coming from a decolonized place, a decolonized state of heart, I would say, not even mind, but heart. All those things really matter to me, and that's also what, brings me to I do search for healers and facilitators of color oftentimes, and I don't only solely work with them, but, that has been a big, push for me or a big, magnet for me to work with those types of people over, people who have, like, insane followings, that
Yeah.
are not necessarily people of color.
I totally agree. I think also, when you're doing your research, really listen to what the person is talking about and see if how your gut and your heart feels. We have a very, very awesome healer. He's based in San Miguel. His name is Lobo. He comes from a Celtic line of healers. He's also a Dakota medicine man, and he had healing centers in Tennessee and in New York, I believe in the 90s. He was one of the first kind of schools that started training. And when we first set up a meeting to meet him, totally walked by him because, he's a probably 60 something year old gay man, Caucasian, who wears pink button ups and cargo shorts, and Crocs. So completely different than the shamans and the healers and that persona that you see so many times. And that's what I really love about him is, he works with spirit, and it doesn't matter what he looks like. He's not pretending to be anything that he's not. He's been able to give me language to use for many things from a different perspective, and it just works. Totally, totally not the standard typical shaman, but yeah, I just think like when you're doing your research, just see what vibes with you and see if it moves you,
Mhm.
just like any other relationship.
Yeah, 100%. And I love that you brought up persona too. I think living in LA and stuff, you kinda get the whole sort of, there's a look to be a healer, the
Yeah,
goddess dresses and like all that shit. I I think I've developed such a horrible taste in my mouth for that look that, you're supposed to ascribe to this certain kind of vibe or type of like wardrobe or whatever. It's all just BS to me, it's like it
yeah,
really is who the person is inside and what energy they're kind of projecting outward, and if that resonates with you. And
And I'm also
instantly.
And I'm also going to say, I always feel empowered to ask questions, right?
Yeah.
Talk about their lineage. I mean, I've seen so many people who discovered themselves at Burning Man, right? And went on 3 ayahuasca trips, and now they're considering themselves and holding ceremonies. And I think that can be very dangerous, right?
Yeah.
Like, things you should be asking for is, what guides do you call in? How do you
Yeah.
open the ceremony? How do you close the ceremony? Because we've heard of some very kind of scary scenarios where some of those things were not accounted for, not known for, and it's caused some dangerous situations. So I always feel empowered to ask questions. And if somebody can't answer them to the way that you feel comfortable, then they're not the right person for you.
Yeah. And I just want to add one more thing to that list. There's a lot of gurus out there now. There's a lot of people who espouse like, like this is the way to do things. Here's the formula to do things. Here's how you heal. Step 1, step 2, step 3. That really doesn't exist. I think the people who are presenting themselves as these like gurus, experts, follow me and I will show you the way. I just get like, it's like my nose twitches. Like that is a big red flag to me now. That's why I'm really paying close attention to the language that they use, the kind of content that they put out there, how they're engaging with their audience and their collective, and it doesn't mean, I'm personally very wary of people who have hundreds of thousands of followers, and it's not to say that these people are evil or bad or that you shouldn't go to them, but I'm personally wary because when you reach that level, sometimes I wonder, what is motivating you to do this, and I question sometimes the purity of the medicine that's being delivered.
Yeah, I mean, you're in LA, like how many failed actresses or songwriters, performers couldn't make it because it is a tough industry to get into, entertainment, and all of a sudden their followers are turned into some type of healer or shaman or any of those things. I mean, we see that all the time. So just all of those things. Encouraged to ask questions.
So I want to shift gears and hop over to the business that you built, but I just want to ask one very tactical question for our audience. You said like going on Instagram to find people. Can you like give me like exactly the types of tools and places where you can at least start to search and research people that might be a good fit for you?
Yeah, I feel like for me, it happened very organically where, I would start with maybe even a hashtag and then start kind of going down a path of like, let's say inner child work. That was something that was really speaking to me at one point. And I do a lot of inner child work within my journey work. So I would start looking at that particular hashtag and finding people who are speaking about that or who are using that within their therapies or within their facilitation. And then from there it just organically grows as the Instagram sort of rabbit hole that it is. You just suddenly find different people. And I have to like put this part in as well. It's some of it is really truly for me divinely guided. I feel like I've met so many different people. As much as we like to hate on Instagram, that's been a massive source for me to actually make true connections with other people. And these are, facilitators that are around the world that, again, are very like-minded or like-hearted, and I feel it out, and that's been a really great platform for me to be able to connect to others who are doing the same thing and sort of wanting the same change in the world.
Okay, dope. Instagram. That's what it is right there. Um, all right. So I want to understand the business. We've kind of talked about the healing journey, the modalities, the tools people can use, the struggle you went through. But as a person that has started multiple companies and had multiple jobs, leaving a job replaces a stress, right? Like there's a different stress that comes with starting your own thing. For better or for worse, I tend to think for better. I wanna understand, like, your vision, day 1, the tools, the, products that you guys thought you were gonna, release. Like, what were those very first SKUs? What was your vision for the business, and, how are you gonna make money?
Yeah, those are all really good questions. Our first, I would say, 6 months, we were really trying hard to figure out what the hell are we making? What does this look like? Yes, what does our product launch look like? And we really wanted to, I mean, we left our agency in April. We really wanted to launch something by the holiday season. That was our goal. And so there was a lot of very tense conversations, a lot of, I would say, stressful situation, like panic. Um, when we were talking, and now a partnership is not the easiest thing to embark on when you're trying to essentially build the ship as you go, because you have two completely different voices and two completely different frames of reference. And I come from creative, Sam came from account, like dealing with clients. Very, very different mindsets. And so, yeah, it was hard. The whole first 2 years, I would say, there were some major challenges. We decided ultimately that what we realized would help people feel better the quickest was aromatherapy, because it attaches, or it connects to, or works with your limbic system, that animal, part of your brain, the primitive part of your brain, that's connected to your olfactory senses. So by smelling something that is relaxing and calming, it instantly helps you to self-regulate. So from there, we started researching products and makers, artisans within our area, within LA, that were making different types of aromatherapy products, candle makers, and bath product makers, oil makers, all kinds of makers. And we decided at the end of the year that what we wanted to do was put together 3 different ritual boxes. One around like sleep, soothing, calming, rest. One that's around centering or grounding. And then one that was about just like kind of relaxing, in a sense of like just chilling out. The rest one was really focused around sleep, like nighttime sleep, because that was something that we had such a difficult time with when we were in the agency. We Our sleep was just like all completely messed up. And so we knew that so many people were dealing with that as an issue. So we launched those 3 boxes, and we called them ritual boxes. And we realized, again, in doing our research and also going along in our healing journey at the same time, we realized the importance of daily rituals. And when I say ritual, what I mean is, like, anything in your life could be turned into a ritual. Brushing your teeth is a ritual. Drinking a glass of water could be a ritual, as long as you're doing it with intention and consciousness. So I could be brushing my teeth thinking about, the 10,000 things I have to do the next day, or I could be brushing my teeth, and this sounds like a funny example, but I could be sending love to my body, saying, "I am so grateful for everything that you carried me through today. I am so grateful that I get to take care of you right now." That's the kind of intention that actually shifts your energy. And again, it sounds like really tiny little things, but it actually completely can transform you over time if you bring intentionality into your life. So those first 3 ritual boxes were really important to us to start the dialogue and the conversation around bring ritual back into people's lives.
What I really like about the business you guys are building is, like, you're the power users, right? Like, you're the people that truly benefit from the impact of these products, and you can fully believe in the properties that they have. You're gonna know if something is wrong or not working, and I have a lot more faith in founders that, like, are creating something out of necessity, so I
Mhm.
love that. But you guys, correct me if I'm wrong, aren't website builders. You're not product people. From what I've researched, you don't have a background in, like, creating products. So, like, how did you guys learn to build those things? Those are completely net new skills that you guys had to like come up with.
Yeah, I'm still a little bit amazed, to be honest, at how much we learned in that first year. Because yeah, we were starting at ground zero, and to be fair, my background was in digital marketing and advertising. So I had created websites for like bet.com, oprah.com, these big enterprise level work like websites, coming
Okay,
up with the
I take
creative
that back.
strategy.
I misspoke on that one. I was thinking you guys were just doing the digital marketing, not the building of the website. I put my foot in my
No,
mouth.
I was full on in the product side as well as the digital marketing side. So that's also why I got promoted to ECD, because I could kind of like straddle both of those things. So yeah, I that product knowledge really helped in terms of like digital product building and things like that and user experience. And I took all of that knowledge into what we were building. But yes, knowing about like, the body, the neural system, like our nervous system, all that kind of stuff, that was just us researching for ourselves. It had nothing to do with really necessarily what we wanted to put into the company. You're right. We were building this completely for us. We were the two test cases, or like the lats, for this entire operation. And that to me, I think, was what made the difference in, what we put out, because it had to go through the testing or the litmus test of the two of us saying like, "Yeah, this totally works," or like, "I really do feel better," or "I feel more calm. My sleep is improving. I'm feeling more relaxed. I'm feeling grounded or more centered when I'm journaling using this journal," like all these things. So yeah, we were absolutely the two first test cases for what we were putting out.
Got you. And when you started to create the products, you guys have more products than that now. Um, how did you decide, hey, I think we need to improve this one, double down on marketing it, or launch something new and hit a new wave that we're not touching right now?
Well, I think in learning the business, like one of the pitfalls that we found ourselves in was, how much do we order, right? How much do we actually order from all these makers and artisans? And to be completely honest and transparent, we bought way more stuff than we really needed. We completely overshot because our trajectory or our projections were like, we're gonna I forget exactly the solid number, but we're gonna need to sell X number of boxes in order to make X number of profit, right? So we bought a ton of stuff that we ended up not selling, And what's crazy to me is that our first year, we still made $7,000 of profit. We didn't lose money. But yeah, we had to really figure out, you know, do we want to still buy from other people, or can we actually make our own stuff? Like, can we make our own tools? And again, as we were doing the research and finding out ways to actually make all this stuff ourselves, we were realizing, like, at least from a monetary, space, like we actually wanted to handle everything, and we wanted to be able to essentially make more profit by just purely bringing all of that in-house. So now the whole lineup of products that you see, I would say 90 to 95% of our store we are all Daughters products. We are no longer outsourcing, and we're no longer purchasing from other makers. We've become the makers ourselves and the artisans ourselves. And that's really intentional too, because we can bring a lot more intentionality into how we make, how we source the ingredients. We can infuse everything with Reiki. It's like the whole thing can be from, from the sourcing all the way to the release, even the packaging and sending out, completely an operation out of love and compassion. And that was really important for us too. Like every energetic step, we can infuse our energy into it. And it really does feel like we're sending love out into the world through every single product and every single package that gets sent out, which we also package ourselves at the moment. We're like literally doing everything.
Yeah, that's that good old founder love right there. Um, I just don't wanna gloss over this because I think it's important. I think starting an online products business or services business is probably one of the lowest barriers of entry and
Mm.
businesses you can start right now, and it's probably one of the greatest opportunities for our communities, but it comes with its own challenges, and inventory is especially difficult. Can you just break it down a little bit, like drop shipping or having somebody else manufacture and send it to you and then you sell it out, packaging it yourself and trying to figure out how much to buy there, like just some of those details so people can understand if they're going to start their own online products business, what are some of the things that you had to learn the hard way?
Yeah. So, first of all, sourcing from other companies and buying products from other people, you're buying them at wholesale cost, right? And you're marking it up 50%. So technically you're only making 50% of that profit versus making your own products, which you can mark up however much you want to. And, obviously we're coming at it from a place where we want to be able to support more people. So we're keeping our prices pretty affordable. And that was really, really intentional. We wanted to make sure that we're not creating luxury products that are only serving a certain niche. We want to make sure that this is a bit more democratic and ubiquitous. So that that was part of the reason why we brought everything in house again. Drop shipping, we started researching companies that can package up for you, and or even like consignment. Can we have other people? Can we just have their products in our store and just have them deal with like the shipping out and all that kind of stuff? And really for us, it was more of a sense of we want to maintain the brand essence, and we wanted to make sure again that energetic frequency, which we so believe in, was infused at every single step. So if you can imagine, like if we outsource the packaging to a company, who knows who's packaging that up? Who knows how they're doing it? We can give them all the steps and all the, the tape and the tissue paper and all that kind of stuff, but you really don't have control over that. But it's like it's not control like micromanaging control. It's more, again, for us, an energetic thing. We have no idea what energy they're putting in. Some guy who's having a really horrible day that day and packaging something up, in a rage or in anger, like maybe sending that energy out along with that package. So for us, again, this is a company that's a bit different than just your average other self-care company or soul care company that is trying to make a sort of set profit margin and all the things that you would imagine a typical business would be thinking about. The care aspect of it is so much a part of the healing for us, and how we send it out is so much a part of that. So looking at our overhead and obviously want to keep it really, really low, which is why we're doing everything ourselves right now as well. But there's an aspect of like it's worth our time and energy to bring everything in house, not from a financial standpoint, but purely from a energetic standpoint.
Okay, and I'm gonna just ask you one more question about the business because you came from ads and marketing. Like, I'm sure you got some tricks up your sleeves. What has been like some of the best channels, the most successful channels and most creative ways that you've been able to kind of like push out your brand and products?
For us, really, a lot of it had to do with live events and the events that we were facilitating ourselves. And we didn't, this wasn't it's interesting because like when we first entered and started making, building this company, making these products, we were still in our sort of marketing mind, like, oh, we know what to do. We need to buy some Facebook ads. We need to do da, 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 da. It's like you have the whole laundry list of things that you're taught are the marketing how-tos of, pushing out a business. None of that worked for us, to be honest, because we're selling aromatherapy products and nobody smelled this stuff before. So it was really difficult for us to convince somebody to buy this candle or buy this spray, not having tested it before. So we ended up starting to go out to markets like indie markets, artisan markets, and having presences there, which helped for sure to kind of get word out. But for us, really, it was the live events, like pairing the actual healing with the soul care tools that we were offering. That was the perfect marriage. And that's the audience that we were trying to reach. And those are the ones that, would best leverage these tools anyway. So even though we were in these like craft fairs and stuff like that, it was still hit or miss for us because, some people were into it, some people weren't, you get a whole mix of people. we ended up going to a trade show in New York called Shop Object in 2019 that really spread the word out about us. I definitely think that that was a major game changer for us. By it essentially started our wholesale business side of things. So, we're starting to make our own products by that point in late 2019. This is a year in, right? So that was our way to meet other buyers and suppliers for all these other boutiques and spas, and we ended up having a whole bunch of our products be put out at Need Supply and some of these other places that we probably would not have made those connections had we not been at that trade show. So that was something that was like a huge push for us. And now we're doing online trade shows. They're basically their online component called Shop On. Every single year we have a presence there. So yeah, that's been really helping. And just building that whole wholesale side of our business was it was not anything that we planned in the beginning, but again, I feel like we were guided into that. And so we just sort of followed our guts and started building that side. And that's been kind of a really
How big is
great.
that? How relative to your other business, like, how big is your wholesale business?
I would say our revenue is probably 60 to 70% wholesale.
Oh, wow. And just to clarify for the audience, so you're probably making a lower margin, but you're
Yeah.
selling bigger bulk,
Yeah.
right?
It's
And
it's
mhm.
not it's not even bigger bulk. It's like we're actually not, we're breaking even right now. We're like mildly profitable, and this is, 3 years in, right? So it's not like we're making a ton of money at the moment. I'm personally, like, full transparency, living off of investments to try to, like, get this company off the ground, and I know that my partner's in the same boat too. And so our facilitation practices, like her Reiki or energy therapy and my breath work, have also been a revenue driver for us, just personally. But this is completely like a labor of passion and love. And so, yeah, that's the real thing. It's like we've had to have other things to kind of help, like, keep us afloat essentially in order to keep this kind of going. But the thing that I find really promising is that we haven't lost money on it. Like, we've either broken even or have made, actually every single year we've made a little bit of profit, not paying ourselves, of course, but we're hoping that that just continues to, like, build and build and build. And we're not in it for the sort of, like, quick climb. We're if this takes us 10 years to kind of continue to build, this is for us a lifestyle. It's not really a career. It's not really we're going to be building this business in order to sell it. This is like we're actually investing ourselves and our energy, and this is like almost like our own personal mission to have this company. So that's what makes it a bit different than probably other businesses as well.
Yeah, I mean, well, it comes from that line I said earlier about the fact that you are replacing one stress for a different one, right? It's just about which one are you willing to deal with, right? Like, I'm sure that money was fine when you had the regular job, right? Now
100%. Yeah.
now the money's more stressful, but the passion's there. It's like it's easy for me to go work on my own startup at 9 p.m. because something has to get done
Yeah.
because I care, because I'm impacting people. And what I really love about your company especially is it is so, so, so mission driven. Like, you can hear it when you speak and, like, in everything that you guys do, and even in the visuals, which the visuals on your website are fire, no surprise.
Thanks.
But, like, you can feel that, right? You can feel that passion, and so you give up one stress for another, but, like, this is a stress that's worth fighting for.
100%. I think you said it perfectly. It's nothing's gonna be stressless in life, right?
Yeah.
And, if you're on the track where you're like, "I gotta make a ton of money and feel really secure and, safe in that way," like, that was a track that I was on. I was on that escalator. I had reached the top of my game in a sense in that agency world, and, I was stressed out. I was unhappy. I wasn't fulfilled at all. And now I'm not making money. And honestly, I wouldn't trade it for the world. It's like I don't know how to explain it. It's a feeling in my body where I'm like, I know that what I'm doing now is it's like the frequency I'm putting out feels like it's singing versus before it was just like dying, and just muffled.
I love it. I love it. Well, look, we're at time. It was really great to kind of hear your story, your perspective, your journey from the good life in the marketing world to the better life, building your own thing and helping people. So on that note, I just want to really thank you. I also want to thank our audience for joining, whether in the podcast or YouTube, Facebook, wherever you see us. We appreciate you, especially our people in New York. We got some new stuff coming pretty soon. So stay on the lookout there. But on that note, once again, we really appreciate it, Ellen. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much. I loved every second.
Awesome. All right. Oh, hold on. This just in. I think like in the future I want to get like a little earpiece, but instead I just get like chats for my team. But I need to know like where can we find you? The handles, the websites, let the people know.
Right on. So you can find us online. Our website is wearealldaughters.co, not .com, but .co. You can find us on Instagram at we.r.all.daughters. And if you're ever interested in breath work and journey work, breath work and cannabis work, my handle is Trip with Ellen on Instagram. And same thing with the .com, tripwithellen.com.
Dope. All right, everybody, we will make sure that is in the description below and in the podcast. So we appreciate you. It's been an honor. Take it easy, Ellen.
Thank you. You too.